Okay, so today I have this thing for a project, and let me show you what happened here and what I'm working with. So here's my knuckle, right? You see what happened here? This is your outer tie rod. It's completely busted. Okay, and then this is my steering knuckle, and as you can see, the piece of it just broke off. So I'm gonna have to change that. And I have a piece right here that I was gonna show you. So it literally just broke off of here. So it was sitting this way. Let's see. So it was sitting like so. I mean, you can weld this thing, but I don't have the welding tool. So, and plus it's gonna be safer to just change that thing. Yeah, so this is the way it was sitting. It just broke off all of a sudden. So the owner told me actually that, I don't know, they were driving like through snow and just they hit the snow pile, I think, and it just broke off all of a sudden, which is really like unusual, but I don't know. So I'll have to change that thing today. I'm gonna spray everything with the PP blaster. I'll have to remove this caliper, the rotor, all that stuff. Actually, I don't know how it works, but maybe it's maybe this rotor is like, I think it's possible to remove this rotor. It doesn't come with like one assembly. But yeah, these ball joints, I'll have to spray them, and the down one. So this reminds me a little bit like of Jeep style system, with these ball joints, upper and lower. So let's get to it. I'll have to remove the solder tie rod too. Okay, and the lower ball joint. And then we'll have to remove this axle nut. Okay, so I removed the axle nut. You have to use the 32mm socket, but it has to be 6-point. I use 12-point because I don't have any other ones. Okay. So then the axle should be loose. You might have to tap it, and then we're gonna go ahead and remove this retainer for the brake hose. It's 10mm. Okay, this thing's loose. There's two 12mm bolts that you have to take off for the caliper, and then I prepared the bungee cord. So let me remove those and just hang the caliper off to the side. Okay, so here's the deal. This comes off, and then the disc comes loose. Put to the side, and here's my disc brake, which just slides off like that. Okay, so put it to the side also. Okay, and then right now this backing plate, we'll have to take it off. Putting this thing in place, the backing plate, and then it's an Allen key. I don't know, I'm not sure which size. Just pick the key that fits the best, and I'm gonna take it off. Okay, so now just removing these bolts, I loosen them up, and I'll put them to the side to not lose them. Same thing to the bottom one. It's loose. Okay, so let's do that. Two right there, and this one, and the backing plate comes off. Here's the backing plate. How it looks. So we just have the steering knuckle now. Here's the nut, and then there's the cotter pin I have to take off. Same thing on this side, up there. Pin is out. I use the side cutters for that. Okay, let me show you. So both nuts are free from the cotter pins. There's nothing left, and so we have to just remove these two bolts and then separate the ball joints. Millimeter socket or wrench on these. Actually, you can use the socket on this and the ratchet, but you have to use the wrench on this basically because there's no space because of the axle. So I'm gonna use a wrench for it. It's probably gonna spin, so I'll have to hold this thing. I put the big pliers on here. I was holding the ball joint in place and then I was spinning the nut off, so now it doesn't spin with the whole thing. I can just take it off completely. Actually, I'm gonna leave it right here just in case I don't damage the threads, because I'll have to hammer this thing with a hammer now to loosen them up. And I'm gonna be hammering this thing. Okay, so let's see how this works out. I hammer this thing. See if it's loose. Yeah, it's actually loose. It's loose on the top. On the bottom, I'm not sure yet. The top is loose, but now the bottom is still kind of stubborn, so I'm gonna spray this thing more, and then I will just try to take it off again with a hammer. Here's the deal. Hit it on this control arm right here. Don't hit it on the steering knuckle, because these ball joints are pressed in, and if you want to loosen the taper, you have to hit it on the control arm. So that's that, and let me show you it's loose. Let's take this off, and then let's take this off, this nut. Now should be able to just move this thing down, and like that. Be careful with the axle. This is loose, and then you can just push the axle out. Okay, there you go. There's your bearing right there. Okay, and there's your axle. Okay. Steering knuckle. So basically, you have to hold the axle, put the axle in here, put lower ball joint to that control arm, and upper right here. So let's install this thing. It's got to go all the way in flush. Let's put these ball joints in place. Now let's get our castle nuts. Okay, so I got this thing started. Fortunately, it didn't give me new nuts, so I had to reuse my old ones. Just have to tighten them down. And yeah, we're almost done here with this. And after that, we just have to put the backing plate on, caliper, all that stuff. Bolts are tightened up. I mean, nuts down there. I don't have any cotter pins, so I'm not gonna worry about it. So if you have any, just install them. Next is your backing plate. Held on by two bolts. Let's take the Allen key. Okay. This disc brake goes in like that. Okay, so make sure it's flush over there. of the axle. Now I can put the caliper back. The caliper. There's the retainer for the hose, the bolt for it. And then have these bolts for the caliper. And the hose are installed. Now, let's not forget the axle nut. So just tie on that. So it's 32 millimeters for the axle nut, and I had this thing, the breaker bar, and I just tightened it. Now I have to hammer this thing a little bit here, just so it doesn't back up. It's installed. Now I can put the wheel back on.